Here we go. This is a module in how those in spirit communicate, what contact may be like for you. And I say maybe because it's going to unfold differently for each of you. Each of you is an energetic being. You will sense energy differently, and depending on the human conditioning that you've experienced throughout your life. Some of you will have sensed spirit your whole life. Some of you have not had that experience at all. Don't worry about that. We're just going to communicate now about how those in spirit do communicate. It happens, of course, with what we're going to call the soul senses. We're all very familiar with our physical senses, but our first way of connecting with spirit is through the senses that are always present, whether or not you have a body. So understand that's how your loved ones are communicating with you. They don't have a body anymore. Your guides don't have bodies. So they're communicating soul to soul. That being said, you are in a body, so those senses will be interpreted sometimes through your physical senses, and you will physically sense the presence. And that's because you're both human and spirit at the same time. But just understand that soul senses means you can have visuals without literally using your eyes. And you can hear things without using your ears. That's using your soul senses. So it's so important throughout this class and moving forward to remain aware of your physical senses and your soul senses. Be tuned into the body. So many people learn to shut out the body senses and only become aware of it when it's uncomfortable. But spirit will use your body to get through to you. I'd like you to set the intention of becoming aware when a spirit steps in. What do I mean by step in? Thanking my team for that one. They just told me to ask that question. You are an energetic being. And when I talk about that, I put my hands out like this in a circle around you because you are a field of energy. Mine just gave me goosebumps here right now. You don't end at the physical body. This is a costume you wear for this role you're playing in this earthly incarnation. Beyond that, you are like the orbs that show up in some people's photos, a being of light, a pattern of beautiful light and consciousness. That energy field of you, some people call it an aura, and some people can see that aura. But in any case, when a loved one draws near to you energetically, in this world, we speak of it in spatial terms as if they are near and far. But that's only a nod to our human experience. What's really happening energetically beyond the human body is they are making a connection energetically from one field, theirs, to your field, and you are becoming one merged field. So you see how we can always look at everything from two different perspectives. From your perspective of what's happening from the perspective as a human being and the perspective of what's happening at the soul level. So when we say to a spirit, when we say a spirit dropped in on me, did they really come from somewhere? In human terms, yes. From another field that merged with mine. Energetically, it's patterns of energy that are creating a new field. If some of this stuff goes over your head, that's the beauty of having this as a recording. You can go back and listen again. You can ask inside yourself, does this make sense? If it doesn't make sense, I'd like you to get in the habit of then asking your guides, lead me to further greater understanding of this. And you'll find just the right books, or somebody will explain it to you, or you'll get a download from your own guides. This is a practice you can get into. So the way the spirits drop in on you, I would like you to become aware of how that manifests for you in your own unique way. At first, when I connected to spirits, I felt like I was just pulling data out of the air. Oh, that person was an engineer. I hear engineer, and I saw a picture of this or that. I didn't feel them. once I set the intention to know them as people, not just energy. What is a person? A unique set of characteristics, traits, a history, a personality. And that's what they still are, your loved ones and even your guides. To know them and feel them as people, and to know when they drop in, I started having that experience. I would like you to know of your loved ones now, not just as data or memory, but still people interacting with you, and your guides as beings who interact with you. So set the intention of knowing when they're present, feeling something different, or knowing something has changed. I wanted to feel it, and so I do. When a spirit drops in on me, I get lightheaded. First time it happened, first few times, I thought, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me. I'm dizzy. What's going on? And then I realized that they're announcing their presence. It's the merging of two fields, a different vibration, and I noticed it. There were times when I wanted to be more aware of my friends' loved ones if they were around, and I gave them permission, notice that, to take my breath away momentarily. And so now if I'm perhaps riding in the car with my friend Irene and her daughter Carly, who I know very well, is with us in the car, but I might not have noticed it. All of a sudden I go, oh, Carly's here. Take that away. And I get my breath back, and cool, now I'm tuned into her, because I was so focused on girl talk with Irene or on the scenery, I didn't notice Carly, and she's a kind of bossy young woman at times. Sorry, Carly. And so I gave her a way to get my attention. If you're comfortable with that, give your loved ones permission to make their presence known. Maybe goosebumps, maybe lightheadedness. Maybe you don't want to have your breath taken away, but maybe the love of your life used to take your breath away, and you'd love that. Anything that's uncomfortable, you can find a term to mean take that away. That's what I do in a reading. Sometimes I get the physical sensations in my own body so clearly of how somebody passed. I go, ow, or oh, my heart's palpitating. Ooh, a little bit too much. Take that away. And it immediately goes away. But it's so evidential. I want you to have personal experiences of the presence. So ask for it. Before I knew that you needed to ask, you don't always, but most of you will need to ask. I didn't ask, and then I was just getting data. It was not enough for me. So how would you like them to make their presence known to you, your loved ones and guides? Ask them to do it in that way, or leave it up to them. See how there's always possibilities. There's no one way, okay? You can leave it up to them and say, do what you do, don't frighten me, but let me know you're around some way. I want to know when you drop in, other than when I do a meditation with you. And certainly in meditations, I want to know that you're here. So make it noticeable. All right? Okay. So any class on mediumship, you have to teach what are called the clairs. I'll go through it very briefly. Many of you are already familiar with this, but it just shows you the things you can be aware of when you're being mindful and tuning in to see if any of your loved ones are with you. They're called the clairs because it comes from the word that applies to each of the ways we sense our loved ones. The first one being clairvoyance. These are not in any order, okay? Clairvoyance, it means literally clear seeing. So your loved one's energy field will manifest and be translated through your filter of a brain and through your energetic field as images. Clear seeing. But it's not like seeing objectively. Some people will literally see their loved one standing in front of them. What a blessing that is. I have only seen wispy beings less than a handful of times. I have so loved that. But the lack of seeing has forced me to sense more, to keep working at this. And there I go using that word again. But if I just saw them, I would not have gotten into the depth of experience that comes when we bring in the other clairs. So you may see them external to you, but most of us have what's called subjective clairvoyance. The spirits put an image in your mind. It can be of them, or it can be of something they want you to think about or know. And so do me a favor right now, shut out the outer world and close your eyes for a moment. And I'd like you to picture a train. Now open your eyes. Not everybody can do that. It's really surprising to me because it happens instantly to me. And so if you didn't see a train, that's okay. But probably, the guides say 98% of you saw an image of a train. And what's really cool is it looked different for every single one of us because we each have our unique filters, don't we? But spirit will put the images in your mind that you will recognize, knowing your filters. That's pretty cool. So clairvoyance, they'll give you images of themselves or other things. The next clair is clairaudience, clear hearing. In other words, they'll talk to you or play songs for you in your mind's ear. Your soul senses is this soul's hearing. So it's not objective like a voice out here, although occasionally you may actually hear their voice out as if it's separate from you. Nothing is separate from you, but it will give you that experience of what's called objective clairaudience. Most of it will be subjective. Because of your heart connection with your loved ones, just as with Brenda and when my Suzanne comes to me, I hear them in their own voice. Wow. Very hard for us in human terms right now to remember our loved one's voice, to create it. Right? Try to think of what your loved one, you love them with all your heart, but you can't hear their voice. That's one way you know it's them, when they're talking to you and it's in their voice. But if that's too hard for them to create that energy in your field, they will simply use what sound like your own thoughts. So close your eyes again, please, and think the words, little black train. There. The way those words repeated in your mind as you thought them, that's how spirit gives you subjective clairaudience. It sounds like your own thoughts. And we'll talk later of how you know they're not your own thoughts, but just be listening for thoughts that aren't your own. And then we have clairsentience, clear feeling. This is a sense in your own body of certain things. There are so many ways your body can speak to you. So it may feel like you're using your own physical senses, but you are not outwardly touching anything. You are not making it happen. So why did your heart palpitate? Maybe somebody who passed from a heart ailment or had an arrhythmia is here. Why do you suddenly get a pain in your kidney? Because your loved one who had kidney disease stepped in and merged with your field. There may be feelings of emotions that come up that are very, very clear. And that's your loved one letting you know they're with you. So that's clairsentience, clear feeling. Claircognizance is clear knowing. That's the ultimate goal for me as a medium, to absolutely know this is your loved one, or this is my loved one. They are right here. I can't deny it, because you just know. There's one thing that all of us know beyond a doubt. I am. Are you here? You know you are. You can't deny it. That knowing is claircognizance, and we can extend that to knowing specific experiences, including whatever your loved one is trying to get through to you. Like a dream visit, you know that was them. You just know it was real, and no skeptic can talk you out of it. We also have Clairgustance and clairaudience, these are kind of rare, but clairaudience is when you smell something with your soul senses. There's no actual odor in the room, but your loved one has given you that, like when you smell dad's pipe or mom's cigarettes or grandmom's perfume or your son's dirty socks, anything like that. They can recreate that vibration and your brain interprets it for you in a certain way, but the soul knows this is my loved one. Clairgustance is you get a certain taste. Oh my gosh, I just tasted my mom's chocolate chip cookies and they're not even here. That's a good example of that. Clairaudience, I was doing a reading for someone, and when I knew it was the soul senses is when I suddenly smelled this moldy trunk, like one that had been up in an attic, and you open it up and there's all this old-timey stuff in it that just smells musty. And the spirit giving me this sense let me know that their loved one had just been up in the attic, opening a trunk, going through the spirit's belongings, and it smelled musty. And the reason I share this example with you now is I had a very strong cold at the time. I couldn't have smelled pizza if somebody brought it into the room at that time. My nose was completely blocked, yet I smelled that musty trunk clear as if my nose had been clear. So I just want you to know what's possible and how it works, because it's all energy information being passed consciousness to consciousness, field to field. So be aware. Am I hearing thoughts that just arose and have no reason to arise? This is how you know your loved one's here. This is how you know it's not your imagination. Suddenly there's an image you have no reason for seeing, or reminds you of a memory of a loved one, or you see your loved one in your face, like the time Wolf dropped in on me on the highway right in front of my face, showing me this giant wolf in my face. So I went, whoa, and then I felt his presence and he gave me lots of evidence. So you may hear thoughts, you may see images. Where is this coming from? Now use your clairsentience, use your heart and open your awareness here and now. Shut out all distractions and engage your loved one. Don't just say, oh, they might be here. This is a visit. They are still people. Engage them. Hello, oh my gosh, this is you. Now you can continue the conversation. So many people just say, oh, I think I sense my loved one. Well, act on that. They expended great energy to get through to you. Keep it going as long as you can. What stunned me is the few times I remember being out walking on a track once at a military base for exercise. And I had this amazing clear connection with my mom. We were carrying on a conversation, and that doesn't happen too much since my mom has passed. She was giving me memories. I knew it was here. And the next thing you knew, my mind's off on something else. I just dropped the link with mom, and my old ego and human stuff just took off. And there's mom like, well, geez, I finally connect with Susie, and where'd she go? You know, this is why we train ourselves to interact, to engage, to hold the connection, and to acknowledge their efforts to connect with you. All righty. So, of course, we want that face-to-face connection. We want that very real back and forth interaction. Those happen a lot by grace. They happen by your state of awareness and where you are in clearing out the human programming and revealing your light that we'll continue to talk about throughout this course. In the meantime, until you have those gee whiz bells and whistles connections, that I must state, do not always happen on demand. Your energy field will be just right. Their energy field will be just right. And that's why I say it happens by grace. But when you set the intention and do these practices, that is much more likely to happen. You see how it is an interactive, creative process that you go through. In the meantime, between those experiences, be aware of the other ways spirit interacts besides the direct interaction with your clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairaudience, and clairgustance. Okay. The other ways are by giving you signs that they're around. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because this class is about really making the connection with your loved ones, but they manipulate experiences that you have, sensations, thoughts, and feelings, and external experiences. So you notice they are around and thinking of you. They share the field of consciousness of animals, insects, whatever they have at their disposal that will cooperate with them in merging energy fields to get your attention. If they're capable of doing that, they will. And that's how a butterfly may come out of nowhere when you're thinking of loved one and fly around you in a circle and land on your finger and stay there. And you know your mother did that, or your son or daughter did that. That's sharing consciousness to send you a sign. One should understand that it's all merging of fields of consciousness and cooperative. They use birds to do unusual things and get our attention. Yesterday in a reading, I connected with a man who was one of the best sign creators I've ever seen. I said, he has shown me he literally drops pennies at your feet, and he collected coins, and he shows me coins in a plastic bag. And my sitter said, my daughter literally had a penny drop out of nowhere in front of her. She has it in a plastic bag, and it happened right after her grandfather passed. Whoa. And they said, now he shows me he makes noise around your house. He's thumping with the cane he used to walk with. Now he showed me the evidence of the cane. And she says, yeah, we've heard that cane thumping. I mean, these are beautiful signs from across the veil. But if you hear a banging and you dismiss it as something that's not your loved one, you might have missed that. So be aware of how they manifest themselves. Give them credit for their efforts. They may not be powerful enough to have a penny drop in front of you. Again, referencing the movie Ghost, Patrick Swayze is showing how a ghost moves a penny up the wall using his consciousness. Well, then if your loved ones in spirit who are around see that you are about to walk past the penny on the sidewalk, they'll, using clairaudience, put in your mind the thought, look down now. And you look down and you notice the penny. You see the web. That's how they work with you. You might not have seen that penny. That's why you start seeing all kinds of pennies or dimes or nickels when your loved one passed. Same with yellow butterflies. You may not notice that butterfly, but be aware with signs. We don't want to just think everything's a sign. Every time I see a cardinal, I say, hi, Dad, but I don't believe that that's always my dad. We've just had tremendous, significant signs from my dad involving cardinals. So the hi, Dad probably draws him near, even if he wasn't thinking about me. But to be a true sign, you must have that no. The guys always tell me don't use the word must. Okay, it's very helpful to be aware of your loved one in your heart at the time it happens, to have that knowing. They're here. There's a connection with this. The timeliness and the unique appearance of the signs is what makes it apparent. It's your loved one connecting with you. Then I want to encourage you to watch for what I call snags. This is when you become aware in your ongoing expanding awareness of your senses at all times, being present, of something that just catches your attention. As I scan my room right now, my attention stops for a moment on a little figurine that's across the room. That's called a snag. You're so much more likely to notice the snags if right here, right now, you set the intention, I am going to be aware of when my loved ones and guides snag my attention, catch my attention. Not everybody here is a native English speaker. So a snag is when you get a little pull on of a thread, like on a sweater, it gets snagged on something and that little loop comes out. That's a snag, like that, that's snag. And that's spirit catching your attention. Just maybe you asked for a sign from your loved one and you're out driving your car and a street sign snags your attention. You've gone by hundreds of street signs. Now what you do is pull the thread. You notice the snag because you set the intention to notice your loved ones and guide snags. Pulling the thread means read the sign and then ask them, if it's not readily apparent, why is that sign important? Well, you look up and you see that the sign is your loved one's first name. It's Carol Street, and you had asked Carol for a sign. She snagged your attention, seeing from her higher viewpoint, you're about to go by Carol Street. I got goosebumps right there. So that's how snags work. And just set the intention to notice them, to pull the thread. I want to tell you that there is a woman in Nevada who just sent a gift package to me and to Mike and Beth, Wolf's dad and stepmom, for my book, Wolf's Message, because she is a master snag puller. She notices the snags. She was reading Wolf's Message a couple months ago, went out of her house one morning, heading for one town, and felt Wolf's presence and knew she was supposed to go somewhere else. And she actually acted on it. She ended up in this town, walked into a gift shop, guided, and there in front of her are 2 glass red roses. If you've read Wolf's Message, you'd know the significance of the red roses. She bought them and sent them to Mike and Beth. She followed snags all morning. She left, instead of turning right where she wanted to go, she felt pulled to go left. She looks up and there's a street sign, Dreamcatcher Street. If you've read Wolf's Message, the Dreamcatcher is significant. Now she turns right and she goes in a gift store. She's in Nevada. This is a desert state, for those of you that don't know Nevada. The middle of the desert, she walks in and there's not one, but 2 unique, not a pair, unique snowshoes in the desert gift shop. Snowshoes are prominent as symbols of the web of connection. Snowshoes are in the book, Wolf's Message. One after another, her morning was spent in this total state of flow and non-resistance, allowing herself to be guided for these beautiful moments, one after another. And that's how your loved ones will work with you, all along saying, thank you for listening. Thank you for being aware. I'm here with you. So please, let's just do it formally now. Close your eyes for a second. Take a nice deep breath. Center your awareness in the heart, the soul. Connect that awareness with all of your loved ones and guides and spirits. Send the rays of your heart outward and say, I so intend to connect with you. Please help me in being aware of any signs you send me. And I give you permission to catch my attention, to snag my awareness when you have something to share with me. And I will do my best to notice those snags and to pull the thread to find the meaning in the message it has for me. Thank you so much. There we go. Okay, cool. All righty. So when these beautiful signs come along, when you interact with your loved ones, when you have synchronicities, that's 2 things coming together in a way that leaves no doubt in your mind you are connected to something so much more than your human story. Write it down. Keep a list of these things. That will help you cultivate trust. Trust goes hand in hand with belief that you really are connected with your loved ones and that they really are matching your intention to connect with them, with the intensity of their efforts. So I created 15 years ago a document in Word on my computer called Awesome Spiritual Experiences. And it is hundreds of pages now. I know a wonderful mom whose 2 sons are across the veil, Kathy McManus. She has a wall in her home of photos she's taken of magical moments of signs from her sons. Can you imagine the joy she feels walking past that? 2 sons across the veil, yet she feels joy, divine joy, from these reminders, visual reminders on the wall in her home, and of course, all over her phone, of the moments when she trusted and believed, and they showed their presence. So just some tips there to increase your sense of their presence and the joy that comes from that. All right, go until 12:30. All right, I'm asking my team how we're going to do this. I'm going to guide you to connect with your loved ones, to have our first connection, a guided meditation. But some of you may have such a good connection, you might be a little disappointed in me if I bring you back too soon. So the guides are saying, go on to the next module, begin that, and then we'll start the guided meditation right before our big afternoon break. That way, I'll get you into that experience of your loved one's presence, and you can come out of it when the time is right for you and flow right into the break. So just want you to know we are going to practice feeling the presence using the clairs, but in about 20, 25 minutes. All right, so that's our intention. And we will move on now to a new module.